What do car buyers want from you? In this episode, we're going to talk about the psychology of car buyers and how you can use it to sell more cars and leave your customers happier about the sales process. Stay tuned for this episode of Down Payment.
Welcome to Down Payment, the podcast for used car dealers. Prepare to learn something new about the industry that keeps us moving.
Check out all our podcast content on our social media channels. We are at Down Payment Podcast on YouTube, Down Payment Podcast on Instagram, and Down Payment Pod on X. Dealers, welcome back. I've been out talking to dealers, and one of the things that we're hearing is about how it is a tough sales climate right now. But there are dealers that are finding success right now. And those are the dealers that have been most nimble about adapting their sales process to changing times. So we have had episodes about sales process before, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the psychology of buyers in this episode. We've already talked about how customers' preferences have changed, and we've talked about how technology is changing the buyer experience. We're going to talk about both of those again in this episode, but in the lens of consumer psychology. So what are customers looking for? They don't want that same stereotypical sales experience that they've had for when they've bought cars for the last 10, 20, 30, or 40 years. Times are changing. We're going to talk about why and how times are changing and what's driving that in this episode. Modern customers have expectations, and those expectations include they want fast communication. They want a really good, seamless communication experience. They want transparent pricing, and they want no surprises in the sales experience. And that's probably that last element, no surprises, is probably the thing that independent dealers struggle with the most relative to our corporate competition. They also want online convenience combined with the in-store experience. Some want to take that online buying experience really far down the sales process, and some want to just start with perusing online and have the majority of the sales experience in store. A nimble, adaptive, modern dealership should be able to accommodate both. They also want a process that gives them confidence. They value trust, they want control, and they want simplicity. We don't want to overcomplicate these sales processes. And they want, most of all, an authentic, respectful, pressure-free experience. We've talked about in previous episodes how old school psychology heavy sales techniques are really contraindicated. They are not a good idea with the modern buyer. We have to adjust to a more value-based sales approach with our customers. It's important to understand if our sales experience to our customers seems slow, confusing, or like a game, they're going to want to leave. And that's what's going to drive them to your competition. So now, fundamentally, what is driving this change in consumer preferences? In a nutshell, it's technology. Look at the experience when they buy other stuff, driven by tech companies. Amazon, Uber, Apple. They have all trained our customers who all use Amazon and Uber and Apple and Google and various companies. They've trained our customers to have expectations of speed, convenience, and transparency. Most of our customers nowadays, the vast majority of our customers, start their shopping online. And if our customers have been around for any period of time, they have skepticism from old school sales dealership tactics. The old school dealership tactics are really falling flat with our buyers nowadays. Our two youngest generations in the market, Millennials and Gen Z, they in particular are really prizing speed, clarity, and honesty. They want no part of the sales tactics that worked on the older generations. And online reviews, these are absolutely gold mines for dealers. We all know this, but we got to really have a good online review game. Dealerships that can really communicate the transparency, communicate vehicle history, reconditioning, honest pricing, and clear communications. Those are the dealerships that are doing the best at building loyalty and building their reputation. It's important to recognize that our customers nowadays have a big information advantage over what the customer had 20 or 30 years ago. Back in the 90s, if the customer wanted to educate themselves, they literally had to go to the library and do research on the car that they wanted to buy, and it was a long, cumbersome process. 99.9% of customers never did that. And so the gatekeeper for information about the sales process and the vehicle that they wanted to buy was truly the salesperson. That is no longer the case. It is very much possible that that customer steps onto your lot and knows more about the vehicle, knows more about their financing options, and knows more about registration, titling, and legal requirements than your salesperson knows. It is entirely possible that they've spent hours online from a whole host of high quality sources and they have incredible knowledge. And so we have to adapt accordingly with customers that are much, much, much more savvy to the sales process than they were in years past. Key principles to remember. You want to respond quickly. You want to respond to a new lead within 60 seconds, ideally. You want to be transparent. Pricing, trade values, the sales process, financing options, everything needs to be transparent. You want to streamline that experience as much as possible. Goals should be from the customer landing on the lot to getting keys in their hand be within 2 hours. And you want to keep it very human. You want to have your salespeople as a guide and not someone who's trying to use psychological tactics that in the end aren't going to be effective to try to pressure someone into a sale. It's just not going to work. Trust and time are the new currency in automotive sales. Now let's look at this driving a new modern customer journey checklist from initial contact all the way to the vehicle tripping headed off the lot. Number one, initial contact. We want to have a quick, high quality response to the customer, ideally within 60 seconds of that lead coming in, either a text or a call. You need to have the ability to send video via email or ideally by text message link as well to your customers. So you need to have a CRM with a good process to send video to your customers so that you can do personalized videos custom for that, where the salesperson goes out with a phone, takes a video, provides information about features or condition of the vehicle responsive to the customer's demands, and can shoot that efficiently over to the customer. You also want to be able to send transparent pricing right up front. If the customer asks for pricing, you need to be able to provide pricing. The old school way of, well, you need to come in to get the price is not satisfactory with the modern customer. You really want to make sure that you're discussing numbers early on and not at the very final last step. Invite them to pre-qualify, invite them to schedule an appointment, invite them with multiple different routes for them to proceed on their sales journey based on what they want. If they want to work more online and come in later, or if they want to come in right away, be able to accommodate both. And make sure that you have the right tone. You want to be friendly, you want to be helpful, you want to be authentic. Next, the pre-visit preparation. You want to offer a soft credit pull if you can and have something for them to price their trade if they have a trade. You want to confirm the appointment. You want to prepare the vehicle before the customer arrives and send something to prepare the customer what to expect, what to bring to the sales appointment. And the idea is that the customer is very much already prepared to buy by the time they make it to the dealership. You want to deliver a concierge style sales experience. Next, for when the customer arrives in the store, you want to greet them right away. You want to get an understanding of their timeline and their time expectations. Ask them, how much time do they have today for this appointment? Share pricing upfront early in the sales conversation and meet the customer where they're at. This is one of the most important active listening techniques that we have to train our salespeople. If the customer is serious, we meet them with seriousness. If they're really excited and happy and all of that, We're happy and excited for them, but we got to match their energy and their level and their pacing. Let the customer dictate the pace and the tone of the sales experience. Get an understanding of that customer's story as well. That's really important. We need to get information from the customer, and it begins with that salesperson being able to have a good, honest, authentic conversation with the customer to understand their needs. And when we understand their needs, then we can target solutions that matches their needs. Finally, the next step, decisions and pricing. You want to share payment and trade values. You want to provide good menu type pricing with a detailed breakdown. And then this is really key. This is where corporate is doing it right. Get rid of the sales tower. Don't have the salesperson disappear to talk to the manager. Build communication ahead of time with the manager. If the manager needs to be involved, they should come to the customers. But you want to avoid this disappearing act where it builds tension and suspense because the salesperson is going to go talk to the manager and see if something's possible or not. And the answer is always a little bit disappointing from the perspective of the customer. We need to get rid of that. And corporate dealerships have done a great job of getting rid of the sales tower in this really traditional scheme where the salesperson leaves to talk to their manager. Finally, the next step, financial matters and documentation. Prepare the paperwork before the customer sits down. If your jurisdiction allows it and you can, digital signatures can be awesome. Of course, having digital paperwork is amazing from a retention standpoint. It's a lot easier to find when you have an audit or you have to pull a deal jacket when it's all digitized. That is very advantageous later on. And make sure that you have a really clean, seamless closing experience for the customer. Something that is clean, quick, and exudes professionalism. Communicating that professionalism is really important for independent car dealers. The independent car dealers are the ones that are perceived as being less professional, and this is where we really need to hone our processes, our technology, and our sales technique. We got to come across as every bit as professional as the big name brands. Finally, after delivery and follow-up. You want to make sure that at delivery, you're setting up their technology, anything in the vehicle that needs to be customized for them, connecting their phone, stuff like that. Make sure that you're sending a thank you message the very next day. Make sure that you're also asking for a review right away, and then do a follow-up in 3 days to see how things are going. Make sure then you also do a handover where you're introducing your service team and your service department, a service writer, if there's going to be a service writer that is custom for their business. Your goal is always to convert that sale into a repeat business. For our most successful dealers, most of their business is repeat and referral. It's that whole sales experience being so seamless and professional that customer is a brand convert and they come back and buy cars repeatedly from you, and they refer their friends and family to do the same. Your customer experience objectives. You need to be respectful. You need to come across as informed. You need to provide support to your customer and they feel it. You need to provide confidence because the sales experience is something that creates a lot of anxiety in our customers. And if you can do that, you are going to excel against all the corporate competition and everyone else in this business. We would love to hear your thoughts, so leave notes, leave comments on how you exude professionalism in your sales experience at your dealership. And with that, go sell some cars. It's been another episode of Down Payment. Check out our podcast on all our social media channels. We are at Down Payment Podcast on YouTube, Down Payment Podcast on Instagram, and Down Payment Pod on X.
Thank you for listening. Down Payment, the podcast for used car dealers, is a production of Meta Financial Services Incorporated.